Synthaholics. It's the Red Table Podcast.
Welcome to Synthaholics. This is your host, David Duncan, and with me is Aaron O'Brien.
What up? I'm back. Did you miss me? I know you didn't.
Yeah, we always miss you. I hope the audience did too, but Holly and I definitely did. And
Okay.
Holly's here. She may or may not be getting chapstick.
Got it.
We've been doing a lot of off mic talking, so
Yeah.
The lips were chapped.
Don't have
weird.
Arched.
I don't have a ton for outtakes. There might be something in there, but not much. Don't know. I was told to turn off the recording very early on in the bullshitting, so I don't have.
Yeah,
that.
let's keep that to a
You
minimum.
could just cut it out.
Yeah, throw that shit out.
I should have recorded it all. Just cut out one part and had an hour of outtakes.
You could have
Unedited.
a whole show of just get to know the Synthaholics.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. Then don't edit any of it except for the parts that need to come out. Just a 2-hour episode.
Things that
sound
should
like a bad episode to me.
there's things that should not be said. Well, welcome, guys.
I made lots of D's nuts jokes before the show, so hopefully there'll be some opportunity for them to happen.
Throw them back in there, right? I know you like to throw your nuts into the mix. We are talking.
Of course.
Yes, mixed nuts. We are talking about Menagerie, Part 1 and 2 of the original series. So we got a great storyline in the Season 2 of Discovery of Captain Pike. And why not go back, circle back, see where it came from? Let's see what this is all about. And this is a great primer, and it kind of gives us a backstory of what we know about Captain Pike and what they built it off of. So
absolutely,
it's good stuff.
Excited, so yay!
It's fun, and I do have to say, because last episode I wasn't on the show, and I think you guys did wonderful. So I really loved everything. I listened to the show, and it was great. It was exciting to listen to everybody's thoughts on it. So
yeah, it was fun having those guys on, and I loved how it was Stuart. Not Stuart. I'm sorry, it was Samuel who kept throwing it to Holly every single time. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts?
Holly, what do you think?
Well,
he got tired of me talking.
No,
we're
I
all
think
tired
it's
of that,
weird,
Dave.
It's weird for I'm the only one out of this mix who has I wouldn't say fresh eyes, but I've not seen every single episode. I don't know every little detail, and I don't read the blogs or the Reddits or know what's going on in filming. So I think it's an interesting perspective that I have, but it's not a popular opinion at all.
But that's okay, because honestly, what Discovery needs actually is not guys like us. It's more people like you that aren't seen every episode and going to be well, that's not actually accurate, because they need people just be like, hey, that's a good show.
Right.
And maybe that's more what they need. But that's up to CBS All Access and not us.
But with
so
Trek
I think
Yards,
that's why it kept getting tossed to me. Hey.
Yeah, and but with Trek Yards and with David and Aaron and David here, it's very much like, oh, they messed this up. Oh, they messed this up. Oh, they messed that up. And it's just
hyper critique.
But the thing is, it's just there's so many ways they could have avoided it just by doing it right.
I know.
Ask a nerd. I mean, we need to do a segment called,
Ask a nerd.
That's a great idea.
Instead of just pull a nerd off the street and ask him a question.
Are you a nerd, sir? I don't think I identify with that term.
I have a hard-boiled egg in my pants pocket, and I have a pocket protector too. So.
The more you know, though, the shining star shooting over. We need we need that Ask a Nerd segment or something like that.
Yeah.
CBS Ask a Nerd.
Well, let's get into Menagerie. this actually is interesting about this. I was reading about this. This was actually talking about script problems, Dave and Holly. This is they ran out of script ideas, and they needed something to fill for season 1. Unbelievable, but that's the truth.
Really? I thought Roddenberry just wanted to like use that footage.
Well, he did want to use the footage, but they were at this point where they're like, "Oh shit," you know. And there's more to it that than just that. But I mean, it's interesting that they're like, we have all this footage. Let's just use it and film a couple scenes with Kirk and Spock in a room doing a court-martial sentencing. So
it did feel like it dragged on.
It's a clip show. It's a clip show.
Yeah.
It's the quintessential clip show, but they've put it around a court scene, so you get a little Judge Judy. So I read that the Menagerie was the pilot.
The Cage was the pilot.
The Cage is pilot.
Oh, okay.
So all that footage that we saw was aired as its own episode, and it never came
as
out.
a pilot. Okay, and in that, so that's it. Okay, I was like, this was not the first episode of the season, so I was like,
right.
How is that the pilot? But now it makes sense.
Yeah,
exactly.
So they did that. It got deemed too cerebral. Lucille Ball begged and did all this stuff, and she got them a second pilot, which is unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where no man has gone before, where there's a bubble around the galaxy that a ship can't penetrate for some reason, and it turns your eyes silver and gives you psychic powers.
And that worked.
That worked.
That worked, but not this show. But okay, so let's get into it. So this is Menagerie. We're going to do part 1 and part 2. So part 1 aired November 17th, and that's 1966. And this is season 1, episode 15. We started off the Enterprise, get them getting to Starbase 11, which is a planet, and they get a subspace message that they wanted them to redirect there.
It looks a lot like A Taste for Armageddon.
It does. It's a common scene, actually. I think it's the other one with the space amoebas with Kirk's brother.
Oh, yeah, that's that one, too. Yeah, for sure.
Operation Annihilate? Is that what it's called?
It's the one where the thing falls in Spock's back.
Yeah. That's fucking stupid.
Some snot fell in you, and he almost killed him.
Exactly. So they get to meet Commodore Menendez, and they were like,
"Where's my taco?"
No, Dave, come on. We're far beyond tacos here.
We're far black. What?
Far beyond black.
It sounds like you said black.
Oh boy.
No. I think you made that up, David.
Stop. So we get this thing like Menendez says that there's no way that the Enterprise could have got that message, and Kirk's like, well, why not? We said that we were supposed to come here. It was urgent that we come here, and because the captain, the fleet captain, Pike, Christopher Pike, is incapacitated because we get the big reveal that he is in his iconic wheelchair with this flashing light.
Beep.
And this is actually one of those things that is like, I gotta say, probably one of the more iconic things in sci-fi as a kind of like a running joke. The beeping, 1 for yes, 2 for no kind of thing.
I gotta say, it felt like it was, I don't know.
Silly?
There was something going. No, like there was like they didn't want him to be fully functional or something. They're
holding him back.
It kind of felt like that, and I think that's probably just wishful thinking because now we've seen him. We've seen like the FX in
I know
Discovery. So I'm like,
it's weird seeing it now. Yeah,
but the way I didn't feel like that way after, the first, the Menagerie Part 1. But I think that's because then they were out of that whole plot line. Like, they were then at the court-martial. So
right. Yeah, right, exactly. So
it's just like, I don't know. The way he was talking about it was like, I don't know, just kind of nefarious. Like, is that the word? Nefarious?
Yeah, it is. It's
Like,
very nefarious.
It was like, why
I do wonder at this point in technology, it's all he can manage. This is a yes or a no, because we've come to a point now that like people can kind of like do stuff with their brains that are like far beyond that. So I don't know what's going on here.
It did make me think of what was her name? Discovery android. Well, not android.
Arium.
Arium.
It did make me think of that. How Arium's brain was there, but basically everything else was replaced.
Sure.
And they did make the note that, you know, the only thing they've not been able to reproduce is the brain, and perhaps he's just so far damaged that he can have thoughts. He's trapped in his head, and he can have thoughts, but his only response can literally be yes or no. I don't get that.
Well, they just...
especially, I don't know.
This is 1966. Just remember,
they thought it was the only kind of future they could have. But I mean, I didn't want to get into Arium this early, but since you brought it up, it just seems like they shouldn't have done Arium the way that they did in Discovery, because, you know, I had an argument with my dad about it, that it just seems like, why couldn't they give Pike the Arium treatment? Because, I mean, more of his body was probably semi-intact than hers.
Dave, I picture when you have your argument with your dad about this, I picture you two just taking your shirts off and wrestling over it.
I win. I'm right. You lose.
Well, I mean, he lives in Texas, so it's not exactly an
It could happen. You're saying that this could happen.
Not exactly an easy wrestling match to have, but it could happen. Maybe. I'm not saying I would want it to happen, but I mean, it could come to fisticuffs.
Do you think your dad could kick your ass still?
No. No, like what does happen is, like, sometimes when I go down visiting, he'll like try to push me like a football push, and I'll plant and he won't be able to move me at all. So I don't think it'd be hard.
Oh, so the student has surpassed the master. Well,
just the point where the age difference has come out in my advantage.
Sure. It does happen. We all become old men and old women sooner or later.
But he's just like, he might have just not been a candidate. But in the script, they said his brain is perfect, and he can have all the thoughts that any one of us could have. I'm like, he's the perfect candidate. His body is totally useless. He is the perfect candidate for this kind of procedure to have.
Well, maybe this is like a very rare thing to do, and maybe it takes some months to do it, because they said it was like subspace chatter for months. So maybe they're like ready to just stick him in an Arium body.
Oh, maybe they've been prepping for it.
But then, like, Spock's like, "Fuck that! We're sending him to Talos 4."
What was interesting to me, though, is that it felt very much like, this is so weird that I'm actually going to say this, but it felt very much like Spock's premonitions from Discovery, because he's like, may I have permission to stay? And then he stays, and then he leaves, and he's like, as we discussed previously, this is, blah, 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 blah. And it just felt like he knew that this was the end. So I don't know, maybe after Pike took the crystal in Discovery, like, he told Spock of the outcome of his life. And
he might have, yeah.
He knows that this is what Pike wants or something. I was just like,
but it's
oh
not.
My God, it's
Pike
almost
said no.
like he did say no, but I think it was more for Spock's sake than his own.
Yes,
yeah.
I think you're right, Holly. I think he's like, no, don't do this, Spock. You're fucking up your whole career in your life. Because he does. He goes, you know why I've come. He says, I know it's treachery and it's mutiny, but I have to do this.
Right.
And Pike's like, no. He's beeping, doot, 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 doot. Dude, why doesn't anybody listen to me? Dude. So
Nobody
anyway,
understands.
Nobody listens to me anymore.
Nobody. They just tuned my beeps out. I mean, I like the idea so much of
Hashtag them beeps.
Them beeps.
Them beeps.
Hashtag these beeps.
These beeps. These beeps.
These beeps were made for beeping. And that's just what they'll do. One day, these beeps are gonna drive you fucking nuts all over you. These nuts all over you. Sweet, yes.
You threw the nuts in there. All right.
Yeah. I like Holly's idea about them silencing him, and I really was wishing that, like, the chair would have been explained by Section 31 trying to shut him up for something. Mm-hmm. That would have been fantastic to slip that in there, like, if they would have dealt with that a little bit more. Like, because maybe while he's like having his vision nightmare, we see Section 31's like we can't let him like say what he knows or whatever, and they condemn him to this chair or something.
I mean, there's still time for that. There's still time for that to happen, Dave.
Discovery's going to be set in the future. There's probably not going to do it unless they do it in the Section 31 show.
Well,
I mean, Discovery is before TOS, right?
Yeah, but it's 950 years in the future.
So even though Discovery is up there, you still have the Section 33 show. So there's still time.
Maybe. It'd be great to have Anson Mount come back for at least that.
Yeah, I mean, the hope is that Anson Mount comes back and plays Pike again, but we'll see what happens. As we've all speculated, that's a great idea, but I don't see CBS All Access doing it, right?
I don't see CBS All Access doing it either. So, I mean, as long as he comes back on the Section 31 show with Michelle Yeoh, that'd be fantastic.
I don't think he would. I don't think if they cast Christopher Pike in Section 31, if he's not like detached from Section 31, I think that would be a disservice to the character. I don't think he belongs with Section 31.
Well, no, I just mean he needs to be in the show somehow, like as a recurring character or guest star or something, just so they can tie him in, because that would be fun. And I would love the
maybe
chair,
for an episode or two.
Yeah, I would love the chair to be some sort of like something they're trying to keep him quiet about, so that no one could possibly find out what he's doing.
You can't tell.
Right.
Yeah, maybe he knows about the spore drive, or he knows about Control or Leland and all that bullshit.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. That's a good way of thinking about it. Well, from there we get the whole thing where they're trying to figure out, Mendez and Kirk are trying to figure out why or how this call came through, and Kirk just can't seem to put together that Spock fabricated this whole thing.
Spock, he's Vulcan. He can't lie. I believe everything he says. He said my ass was red. How to believe him?
Yeah, it's one of those things that Kirk is just totally biased and saying that no way that Spock would have made this up.
He said he didn't have space herpes either, so I must have gotten it from somebody else.
I got it from somebody else.
For all your slash fiction lovers out there.
Slash fiction.
Check your captain's log and you'll know who you got it from.
Exactly.
Right? Just saying.
He got it from that Tribble.
It was a terrible day when he met that Tribble.
So, anyways, from there we get Spock sneaking into their operations for the communications, and he nerve pinches a couple of people, and he loads some tapes and gives some false commands to the Enterprise in an hour to warp out of the section of Starbase 11 and to head to these coordinates, and everything's going to be fed through the computer, so you don't even need to pilot the ship.
Oh, he basically does the iMud thing. Just takes over the ship, makes it go, can't stop.
It basically, I mean, and I think, and Data did this one time too, by taking over the ship as once.
Yeah, he's like,
it basically comes.
We got to evacuate, and then he uses Picard's voice and just like overrides the ship.
You would think there would be measures to prevent this.
There are no measures to take out shuttlecrafts. They're not gonna think about this. Security is like the least thing. They have a security officer on every ship, but they're like the worst character. They're always the worst characters. You got Landry, who just like shoots the tardigrade and gets eaten. You've got Nan, who doesn't do anything cool until she starts making sex jokes in the last episode. You got Worf, who gets told no over and over and over again. All the security officers are terrible.
Well, you can't say Worf is terrible because he's told no. That can't be why.
I love Worf. I'm not saying he's terrible. I just mean like he's like no one takes him seriously.
This is true.
There's literally a YouTube video where like Worf gets told no for like an hour straight. This is how many times people ignore.
Somebody was very dedicated to the cause.
It may not be an hour, but it's a long time of Worf getting told no over and over and over again. So like no one pays attention to the security officer. Security is the last thing on anyone's mind.
Captain, I don't think we should do that. Shut the fuck up, Warp. We're going in there.
We should raise shields. It's like, why would we do that? Fire. Why would we do that? Abort the baby. Why would we do that?
Highly recommend against that, Captain.
On the one with the child where Deanna gets pregnant, it's like, we must abort the baby.
It's just funny that you even brought that up because it's hilarious. Anyways, so Spock fabricates all these communications. Even gets there's a exchange between Kirk and McCoy saying that McCoy actually standing up for Spock for once, saying there's no way he would lie about this because Kirk's like, well, maybe it was Spock, and he's like, no, it can't be Spock. Maybe me, could be you, but it would never be me. It would never be Spock.
It would never be Spock.
Yeah.
He's too logical.
And he's fully Vulcan. So, Vulcans are not able to lie. Have you met any Vulcans? They're the biggest assholes.
McCoy gets asked to come back to the ship on a medical emergency, and he's like, "Oh, fine, whatever. I guess I got to be a doctor now."
He says hangnail. It made me think of Tig.
It did make me think of Tig too. Actually, they probably pulled that off of that episode. Here's also then next scene we get Mendez showing Kirk the report from Talos 4 and General Order 7. Dave, General Order 7. No vessel under any condition, emergency or otherwise, is to visit Talos 4
under penalty of these nuts. Or death. So it's kind of like death.
And beeps.
These nuts.
These beeps. And the only starship to ever to visit Talos 4 was obviously Enterprise with Captain Christopher Pike and his half Vulcan science officer named Spock. There were more people on that ship. Actually, Sulu was on that ship too, but we don't see Sulu on this episode.
No.
Anyway, so
he doesn't have to fly the ship; it flies itself. They didn't need him.
He's off on shore leave. Oh my. Anyways, Enterprise takes off from
taking
orbit.
It up the butt.
I wasn't going to go there, but thanks, Dave.
You're welcome. I got you.
You can always count on Dave.
I got you covered.
So Enterprise leaves Starbase 11, and Kirk's like, "What the fuck? You just stole my ship!" So Kirk basically got his car stolen. Have you guys ever got your car stolen?
No, thank goodness.
I had my car stolen once.
I locked my keys in my car a couple times. It's kind of like having it stolen by yourself.
Yeah, done that. Mm-hmm. Not had my car stolen. My brother sold my truck that was like technically his to my ex-boyfriend, and it broke down 2 weeks later.
Well, that's probably like made you very happy. So
yeah. I feel like we should call this episode the Menagerie. Subtitle: How many rabbit holes?
How many rabbit holes?
All the rabbit holes.
I had my car stolen once, and it's surreal. Anyways,
it's awful. It's gonna be the worst.
You can't just say that.
Yes, I did get it back, but it was all fucked up.
Was it in 3 pieces?
Is the technical term? No, it was like
had Phobos pee in the back seat.
Yeah, they like ran it against guardrails. They
a bunch of bums had sex in the back of it.
Yeah, there were like pickles in the back seat. I mean, there's bad stuff.
Pickles and semen.
I think you ruined pickles for me. Oh.
No, yeah, it was all bad. It was all bad.
Pickle and semen sandwich.
Ugh, that's gross.
Super
Anyways,
salty.
Dave, sometimes just button it.
Yeah. So Kirk and Menendez take off on the shuttlecraft and take after the Enterprise, but they are just not going to keep up. And so
run out of oxygen.
They're going to run out of oxygen, run out of fuel, and Spock knows this. And as he's going up there, he's like, fuck, I can't let Kirk die. He's just too good of a guy. And he actually puts him in the tractor beam, beams him up, and then he tells McCoy, you gotta arrest me.
My question is, why didn't they just put them in the tractor beam and continue traveling?
Because they're running out of oxygen. Unless he's going to beam... Actually, he could have beamed oxygen into...
Can you beam oxygen into the ship?
Why not?
Hey, they beamed water with Star Trek 4.
He could have just beamed... That would actually... Actually, Holly, that is an excellent idea. He could have just beamed oxygen into the shuttlecraft and nobody would have been the wiser, and he could have just kept on going forward without this whole court-martial bullshit.
But then there was that whole
but then it would be a
comment in the part 2 about needing the court-martial to distract Kirk, right? But they wouldn't have even had to... I don't know.
It is actually pretty hilarious if you would have just kept on beaming oxygen onto Scotty, beam more oxygen
Just tractor
onto
beam
the
it.
shuttlecraft.
I don't know how to beam oxygen, Captain.
I don't know how to do it.
I don't know.
You'll need practice for when you have to beam water and whales up later.
Touche.
That's true. You will need to know how to do that. So Kirk gets aboard, and they beam aboard with
a 2x4.
Yes, and beam him onto a 2x4, and obviously Spock's arrested, and he's in quarter. He's put under. Actually, it was a great scene between. It's a great scene between McCoy and Spock, don't you think?
Yeah.
That he's like, yeah, just arrest him. Is quarters fine? That'd suffice, Doctor.
Right,
like,
right.
Fine.
I won't struggle anymore.
I feel like he questioned whether or not he was going to go along with the mutiny or take care of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, he looked away like, do I just go with whatever Spock has going, or do I do the right thing?
Yeah. I like how Spock is like, I got caught. This is it. So then there's automatically
Not
a hearing.
even that he gets caught. He just gives up.
Well,
Yeah.
because he is caught. He's bringing the captain and the fleet admiral on board. He is essentially caught.
He doesn't know who he's bringing on board.
Yeah, he does. He knows Kirk's.
But he
He knows Kirk's there.
Yes. Life signs, yes. Chances, yes, but not definitely.
But you're both forgetting Spock has an ace up his sleeve.
He knows what's going
has
on.
The computer.
He's taken after his sister and doing mutiny.
He does. He has a. He knows that the computer is set to go to Talos 4, and no matter what, it's going there. So they can't change that.
Right.
So they do the court-martial hearings with Mendez and Kirk, and they say, well, we need a tribunal, we need another an officer, and they're like, oh, you forget, we still got Pike. And Mendez like, yeah, you're right. We just hadn't had the heart to take him off the roster yet, so he's still a fucking captain. So he had to throw him in there. And so we have the tribunal, the military tribunal against Spock. And he gets these messages through a screen that are like, Kirk even stops him at some point, goes, what was that? Like, Chris, was that you? Was that really you back then? And
because they were like film quality scenes.
Almost like this was a clip show.
Yeah.
Almost like a clip show. Yeah, so we get...
We don't take videos this high fidelity.
Fidelity.
This is really fucking good.
How do we get that angle of the little screen where we're looking at Spock?
We do have that great scene, and it's still. I think did they mimic it, Dave and Holly? Did they mimic that in Discovery where they do the screen of the bridge where they go into the top of the bridge?
Did they? I don't think so.
To go into the top of the... What do you mean?
They showed it. They showed it in the very beginning of this, where they're going into Enterprise and showing Pike and his crew. They kind of like you see this the top of the saucer section, and it kind of like slowly rotates and it goes into the literally phases into the bridge. It's a really great shot, actually, especially for 1960, whatever this was, when they filmed the Pike. Pilot. So
I think it was a really impressive shot for sure.
Yeah, for back then.
Yeah,
damn straight.
I don't know, because I
don't think they ever went into the ceiling, but they've got the window, which they didn't use the window for like fun shots nearly as much as they did in season 1. Because there's a lot of like shots that they pulled like from straight through space up to the ship through the window into the turbo shafts in season 1. They didn't do that nearly as much in season 2.
Well, anyways, I thought it was a great scene. Anyways,
it was.
Moving on, we have recounting the tale of how they get the message from the Columbia, which was crashed onto a planet, and Pike was kind of like, just let it go. We don't know if it's real. And then he has a heart-to-heart with his doctor, which basically says, you seem kind of burned out, kind of thing. And they have the discussion there. And from there, we find out that there's a message that the people from the Columbia are actually still alive, and the message is kind of broken up. And they get the paper printouts, so that's cool. We didn't see
the paper printout in Discovery.
Know.
Yeah. It'd be cool if we saw more of that. And from there, we get the whole idea of where...
Just spits out paper, won't stop, and they get drowned in paper.
I feel like I had the silly thought, maybe it's because I'm in California, that they must have some way to recycle and reuse all that paper, because that is a waste.
That is a huge waste. Big waste. And
toilet paper.
Yeah, maybe they used all their old commands as toilet paper.
Deposit into toilet paper.
My cheeks are raw because I'm using 10-point paper. Anyway.
Never mind.
They transfer herpes super good.
I didn't say that.
Space herpes.
Space herpes.
I was thinking earlier that we should talk about ice pirates. But...
Ice pirates! We need to talk about ice pirates. Thank you, Holly.
Yay!
Space herpes. We need to talk about that. Next episode, possibly space or ice pirates.
Butt pirates.
Nah. That's on that's on one of those porno ones, but anyways.
Oh yeah.
It's all gay though, Dave, just so you know.
Oh no.
Well, it floats some people boats.
Oh yeah, Culber's boats.
He has many boats.
Many boats.
I'm on
but one of them's butt pirates.
And these nuts.
And these nuts, that's right.
They go together if you're a Culper.
Oh my god.
So sorry.
All right, let's get serious, folks. Okay.
We're not editing this either. This is gonna be intense. This is great.
We'll have to edit this out.
Nope.
None of this. All right.
Laughing is good.
So in Talos 4, we see Pike. He meets up with the crew of the Columbia, and he meets his girlfriend from there. And that's what was her name?
Vina.
Vina.
She's surrounded by lots of horny old men.
Maybe Dave. But anyways, Vina. We don't know. We don't know how horny they are.
She was getting plowed right before they beamed down.
Oh, come on, Dave.
No, they treated her like a child. It was weird, but it was.
That makes it even grosser. Thanks, Holly.
Prime specimen.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
She's there. People are there.
And people are there. And then we find out at the last minute that Pike gets, she says, the doctor says, these people are in perfect health. There's no way that they're actually this well in health.
I think it's time we show him our secret.
Ooh, let me show you. Take you up this hill.
He's a fine specimen.
I'll show you my secret. And she takes him up this hill, and he thinks he's going to see, her, but he doesn't see that. He doesn't see her nuts.
Thank God he doesn't see these nuts.
These nuts.
Or
no, he doesn't
coconuts.
Or coconut. Actually, that would be nice. But
a lovely bunch of coconuts.
Diddly-dee-dee, there they are, standing in the row.
That you have, Miss
Left
Vina.
one, right one, side.
I'm as big as your head.
Anyways, so she disappears, and all of a sudden the door opens on the hillside, and the Talosians walk out, and they shoot something in his face, and he collapses, and
It's a fart ray.
I hated that.
Shoots a fart.
It wasn't like he didn't toss dust in his face. He pushed a button, and just the way that the stuff flew, it just was not. Or I don't know. It
was a fart
flow.
ray.
It did not flow. Even if it was a fart ray, it was just it bugged me.
It was. I actually, Holly, I believe that was added extra later on. Like I don't think that was in the original. I think they did something
remastered or something.
Yeah, remastered to make it look a little more believable.
Well, I
didn't like it.
Didn't like it. I went.
So Pike gets abducted by the Telosians, and then by the time they realize it, the Colombian crew all disappear, and they start running towards the captain, and they just see him at the last second going down that elevator shaft.
Right.
And then they start firing their phasers. The phasers won't go burn through that door, of course, because these are stupid fucking humans, and they don't realize that the telepathy can make them see whatever the fuck they.
They haven't learned enough to even consider that yet. So they're not stupid
and they
yet.
do mention it. They do mention it. Even Spock mentions it at some point. But even as a joke, he muses. He's like, they could make you see something that,
That's true. That is true. He did.
And they're just like, whatever, man. So anyways, at that point, they go back up to the ship, and they have a big meeting. And here they decide they're going to take one of their cannons, and they're going to bring the energy down from the ship and to fire the full phaser of the cannon into this doorway. Is
this still part 1, or are we now on to part 2? Because I feel like the cannon was part 2. Now Pike's fatigued, and they're like, we must recess.
Yes. Oh, yes. Pike got sleepy.
Yeah.
He was beeping too much. He was beeping way too much.
Telosians stopped beaming stuff aboard because they could tell that Pike was not well, and he was and Spock's all like, we must return to our rooms and rest, and we'll pick this up tomorrow. And they're like, who the fuck do you think you are, telling us what to do in your court martial? I know. What are you doing?
Who are you to tell us?
Right.
And they're like, these nuts are tired.
Right. Oh. And Spock's like, them nuts.
Yeah, nuts are tired. Anyways.
I do what I want. I'm Vulcan.
I do what I
want. Mutiny runs in my family. My father had it. My brother had it. My sister has it.
So now we're on to part 2, and they're trying to bust down this elevator.
Bust the nut.
I'm thinking, okay, they're harnessing all this power from the ship. Yeah, looking back, yeah, it's a mirage. It's fake. It's not real. It's in their mind. But all that metal should have melted.
Yeah.
And melted together. The way that it was put into their heads, it was, I don't know, didn't make any sense. So it was well, that's clearly not real. That's clearly fake, because if they had, it would have fused all of that metal together, and that was stupid.
It's called mind games, Holly.
Well, yeah, I get that now.
I mean, they're seriously playing serious mind games on these officers. So they're shooting into the thing, like you said. They didn't get through, and then we get this whole scene of Pike and the different iterations of Vina. So obviously, first we get her just as she is, and then we get her on this attack where this giant
very Renaissance princess.
Yeah, save the girl kind of thing.
We're sorry, your princess is in another castle.
Wasn't it Cat's Paw that there was a castle?
Yes, there was Cat's Paw.
It reminded me of Cat's Paw. I was like, is that the same castle?
It wasn't the same castle, but it was the same idea, know. And it reminded me of Lancelot in Holy Grail? Saving the prince from getting married.
I think he'll just sing. No, wait, no, don't sing.
Yay!
I thought your son was a woman. Well, I understand.
I can understand that.
Anyways.
You got my note.
You got my note. Anyways, so
Theo, I thought you're a lady.
we get that, and then next we get him back on. I forgot what the colony was, but Rigel 7, I think it was. I can't remember, but
Rigel.
No, that was the battle that they had in Rigel 7. But he was there with his horse Tango, and he's having like a nice time, hanging out with his horses.
I got my horse feed in my pocket.
So, and then we get the
best one of them all,
seductive Orion slave girl, and he can't keep his eyes off this green lady.
I want to see Pike live out his space pimp life.
Dave, what is it?
He's too good of a person. He ran away because he's a good person.
No,
he's a good person.
He talked to the doctor at the beginning. He was contemplating being a green woman space pimp.
Look, okay.
He had a boner.
Throwing out
he had a huge boner,
and
he ran away with that boner because those robes were not concealing that boner, Holly.
And the guy with the earring was looking at him funny, and he didn't want to show it off to him. He wanted to show it off to Vina.
Listen. Some people have thoughts that they do not act upon. Crazy, right?
That's true, Holly. That's very true.
But he was talking to his doctor about it.
I don't hack that.
He was talking. Okay, yes, he was talking to his doctor about it. However, the manner in which he was talking about it, it was not like he had signed up for that. He was just throwing it out there. And
hey, it's an idea.
If it's in the back of your head, it's in the back of your head. But that doesn't mean that you want to live that life, even though it's come to your thoughts before.
I could do anything I wanted to. I could be a space pimp. I want to see Captain Pike, the Space Pimp Chronicles.
Space. Yeah. That actually would be hilarious.
Aren't you skilled in video game design? Can't you make a short little movie?
Well, video game design and making a movie is completely different.
You can't make an animated film.
Choose your own adventure.
I mean, if I was a computer animator, then yes. Game design is mostly documentation and telling the people with the actual talent what they need to do.
Oh, got you.
I mean, I'm sure some game designers also fall in the level designers and stuff like that, which is what I was doing in school. But
anyways,
sorry.
Anyways,
another rabbit hole.
Anyways, Pike denies his passion for Vina, the green lady, and he gets snapped out of that, and that's when the Telosians decide, he's not going for this Vina. Let's beam down number 1 and Yeoman Colt, and now
let's see which one tickles his boner more.
Yeah. Actually, Dave, that's probably the most precise thing you've ever said tonight.
I've ever said tonight, yes.
Yes, tonight. Yes, this exactly
ever.
Which one? You have Vina, you have number 1, or Yeoman Colt.
Which one you get the blonde brunette and the redhead. I mean, you're just
the one who sought you not in her reach, but now is questioning.
Maybe it could.
How about all of them?
Yeah. So, anyways, very interesting. And Pike still is like, I'm going to fucking bash your head in. So Pike realizes through Vina that through pure rage that they can't read his thoughts. So that's a thing, right?
Be angry. They couldn't read Hulk's mind.
Exactly. Hulk would be totally unreadable. During the time when they beam, they take the number 1 and Yeoman Colt down, he realizes he tries to fire their phasers. He steals their phasers off them and tries to fire them at the glass, but doesn't go through. And he's like, I think it did work. And at a certain point, he gets his hands on one of the Telosians trying to steal those phasers out of their cell. And he gets his arms around them. Trying to choke them out, but no good. And they decide that maybe we should let them get out because they're going to shoot a phaser in my head. And there's no matter what, that phaser's still going to work, right?
Maybe. Or maybe they could make him think he pressed the trigger when he didn't.
Yeah, that's the other thing I thought about, too. Maybe you thought you pressed that trigger, but you really didn't trust that trigger. I don't know. But anyways.
Right.
So they get up to the surface, and we get to reveal the whole plan is that the Telosians actually wanted the humans to repopulate their planet. So they did want Vina and Pike to be Adam and Eve, and they wanted them to kind of repopulate because the planet was thousands of years ago was bombed out from a huge war, and it just finally be able to support life. So that was the idea. From there, we get obviously the whole Kirk and Commodore Mendez and Pike are watching this all with Spock on their view screen, and this is basically the idea is that they want to Pike back on Talos 4 so they can use his mind, and Pike can live out a life of fantasy, I guess.
Yeah. With Vina.
Why not? And by the time they get there, they realize that Mendez was never really there. This was all just just to
get Kirk emotionally invested.
Yes, because
they
knew Kirk wouldn't do it normally.
Under normal circumstances. Yeah.
And Pike gets beamed down, and that's it. He takes off with Vina, and we get this great scene of him taking off with Vina and living out the rest of their lives together.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first on this? I know with Discovery in our back pockets now, this takes like a totally different meaning to me. I don't know how it feels for you guys, but who wants to talk about it first?
Yeah, go ahead with your meaning.
Me?
Yeah. Go for it. I've said these nuts enough tonight.
These nuts.
There they go.
First of all,
on the elevator.
Pike is such a tragic character. The Cage episode, you can watch it. It's on Netflix, obviously. You can watch the whole episode. It's not a terrible episode, but it's not a great episode. It's just like something you watch. It's good for whatever, 1965, 1966, whenever this came out. But with Anson Mount taking over Pike and reprising the role and making him seem more lovable, and I mean, he just brought a whole new dimension.
Giving him personality.
Yeah, a whole new dimension.
On screen, yeah.
And it just became so great to see him. And now we're seeing him that maybe, even though he had this terrible tragedy, he has a happily ever after. It feels really fucking good.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of people in life that get some disability for some reason. If it's an accident,
birth defect,
or just something happens through their life, that hits them. You would just hope that maybe they get something like this that they could, not that they want to live in a fantasy, but maybe they could, have a meaningful life somehow.
Fully immersed, fully convinced themselves. Not like Futurama, where the elderly go to this planet and they're plugged into a bank. But yeah, fully immersed. They really believe that they walked with their 2 feet. That, my one thing, never mind. I'll wait till my turn.
No, I felt good about this.
Yeah.
After Discovery. And before, I kind of felt like, well, isn't that kind of like what he was against? But now because he's debilitated, he's in a wheelchair and he's, he's disabled. I mean, does it make it any less reality? But maybe, I don't know. It's hard to kind of wrap your brain around it because you're thinking about yourself. It's like, yeah, if I was in that situation, I would want to be in Pike's. I want Spock to take me away to a planet where I could, live in a fantasy and I never have to think about my disabilities again. I mean, Vina was the same idea. She was crashed, and they had to reconstruct her, and they did the best they could at knowing what a human looked like, and so they could go off just on pure. The Telosians are a little fucking weird. Let's be clear. I mean, they're kind of like getting off on people's like memories, and their fantasies, but whatever. They're
feeding on experiences and weirdness. It was weird.
Yeah, it's definitely a little odd. But
how did you hurt your brother, Michael? Did you call him mean names?
Yeah.
Is that your big dark secret?
It kind of reminds me of The Good Place. Have you guys watched that?
No.
Actually, I haven't watched all of it, but I have watched some of it, and it's really fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Really fucking hilarious on what I have seen. But yeah, it's something you would want if that happened to you. I think I would, but maybe.
Oh yeah, I would definitely.
Maybe somebody's disabled might say differently. Maybe they'd be like, I want to face my reality.
Beep beep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass it on to whoever else.
Well, that's kind of. I don't think I put that thought in your head, but that's kind of what I meant when we were talking about Discovery and about how we weren't sure where they were going to go with Pike's incident. And I was like, well, some people choose to keep their scars and wear their past. So some people do, Aaron. Some people do choose to want to live with it, and some might not want to. So yeah, but that's not what I was going to say. I thought it was good. I was irritated that it kept going back and forth because it just felt like it was dragging on. But I think it was written purposefully so that, they could travel there and get close enough. So it had to drag out. But I didn't like in the end how quickly Pike was able to, quote unquote, walk to the elevator, because with that chair, he still has to be in the chair, even though mentally, he's got to navigate rocks. Like,
he didn't walk the chair. It's just what they projected into Kirk's mind, that he's having a happily ever after.
Yeah, that's true. They would have had to do that, because
they should have just showed them boning, and Kirk would have liked that more.
They could. I don't think. Do you really think his penis works if he can only beep beep?
Yes, everything works.
I don't think
in his mind,
he's going to repopulate. Hey, they can just extract the sperm. They can radioactive it, stick it in the vena.
They don't know anything about the human body. They don't know how that works.
Hey, but the thing is, they had both Enterprise's doctors close by. They could just scan their brain. They can learn how to do in vitro, and they just do a test tube baby. They take out the broken eggs and the broken sperm, and they can just stick them together. And that way, they can have their human colony on Talos 4, and we can have
It's not broken sperm. It's a broken penis.
You don't need. You can just extract it. You can do all the fun things. They're scientists. They got super smart big heads, and they had both Enterprise's doctors close enough for them to scan them, so they know. And I think that's why Vina looked better in Discovery versus then, because maybe since they scanned the doctor on Pike's ship, that maybe they learned how to fix her a little better. So she's a little bit more whole in Discovery than we see her in the cage. Because they've had time to practice.
You really think that they'd want to just deconstruct and reconstruct her?
Yeah, why not? I mean, she's living in a fantasy world. They got nothing. They got nothing better to do.
If they can convince me that doesn't fucking hurt, okay.
I mean,
when I get my dental implants, I want to be on Talos 4. And they can convince me that I am not having implant pain.
Honestly,
exactly.
I think you could do almost anything. Honestly, with that kind of stuff, I mean, I think if you can trick the mind, you can do anything.
Well, that's what we were talking about back on our Discovery episode when we talked about the Telosians. We were talking about having a workforce. Just make them think they're getting laid all the time, and while their bodies are actually building up Risa on the planet or whatever. I mean, like make their bodies do the work that needs to be done to rebuild the infrastructure while they're just getting off.
Is that really okay, though?
No, it's not.
It would be great.
Okay.
It would be great.
That doesn't sound okay.
Well, no, but I mean, if they entered into this arrangement under
willingly, knowing
yes.
what they were doing.
Yes.
Okay.
I think they should have opened up negotiations with them and be like, "Hey, look, we can rebuild your infrastructure. Just make us have a good time while we're doing it." And they could do it.
Just remember, Pike did agree at the end to say he would do this.
Yes.
So he was good with it in the end because I think in the beginning he didn't want it because he didn't want to fuck up things with Spock.
Wheelchair is not consent.
But yeah, but I think in the end he really wanted to see. Yeah, I mean, we got like a brief thing in Discovery how he does have a relationship with Vina. He does care about her and he is attracted to her. So
I mean, he said so much in the cage.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
So, I'm attracted to you, but I want to do what I gotta do. I can't just give in to this impulse. Because I still have my responsibilities. I haven't quit Starfleet and got on my space pimp outfit yet.
Dave, what do you think about all this?
It was great. I mean, like, I hadn't seen these episodes in a really long time, and I thought they did a really good job explaining why the footage was so good, and they got such weird angles. You had the Telosians just showing this in your head. So the Telosians watched The Cage, which was pretty good. And they just showed it to everyone else. I thought that was a great explanation for that. This is probably the least offensive clip show I've ever seen. Because a lot of times clip shows are awful. Awful.
A lot of people, I mean, unless you grew up in the 80s and 90s, actually probably even further back, clip shows was a common thing. They just like, hey, we don't know what to do with this episode. Let's throw some clips together.
And the thing is, if you watched this originally, you wouldn't have probably seen the original pilot because they probably didn't air it, right? Mm-hmm. And then they only aired the one that was successful so that they could run the show. And then, so this would be new footage to you. Like, you wouldn't know this is a clip episode. We only know it's a clip episode in hindsight, I think.
Right.
So, I mean, like, at the time, I mean, they wouldn't have known any better, probably. Most people probably wouldn't have. So, I mean, it's great. I mean, it works on lots of levels. They were able to use the footage. They built a story around it that was kind of fun. It gives Spock some character other than this logical, this is not logical. Vulcans cannot lie, but then, maybe he can. Maybe, if it's for the greater good, he can. So it's great seeing, Spock have more character and Bones stick up for him a little bit. And Kirk was just arguing with a vision the entire episode. He's like, why couldn't it have been a woman?
That sounds like a Kirk thing to do. I object. And he's talking to the wall.
Yeah, I would love. They should just cut the scenes of him just talking to nobody, like he's walking around the starbase and just having conversations.
And that's not really there.
And this is not really there. He's in his quarters having beans or something, and like he's just like, I'm in this. Like, what are you talking about, Kirk?
So interestingly, it says that Robert Butler, who directed The Cage, was approached by Roddenberry to direct this envelope episodes. But he refused because he disliked the series. He didn't like Star Trek.
Oh, ouch.
And Mark Daniels was assigned to direct all the new stuff. It was decided that he and Butler would share credit for the 2 episodes. So,
because I saw Robert Butler's name on there. I was like, huh.
Yeah. So, anyways,
this is well done. I think even more like we talked at the front of the show that Discovery made more missteps, but not just by having Arium there and not explained in the same way. I mean, I guess they could still fix it, but I don't know. Discovery connections are good in some places and not great in others, like we'd already mentioned. It's really well done season 1 episode. I think for them just like giving up and throwing up their hands and be like, I don't know what to do. This is a well constructed 2 episodes for them like basically giving up. What happened in season 3?
What do you mean?
Just the episodes were so bad. Apparently they were trying supposedly on writing episodes.
Oh yeah. Well, season 3, their budget got cut short. So they didn't have any money for anything.
Yeah. Also, like rewatching parts of The Cage, and I'm kind of sad they changed some of the sets because the Pike's quarters set was great. You had the window there, and the ceiling was a little bit different. You could see it was kind of cool. It was like, what happened to these cool sets? We never saw them ever again.
Yeah. No, it definitely was. It was cool to see
the stars moving through the window.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, The Cage is a very well shot show for whatever that was, 1965 or whatever that was.
It was well shot. They showed they shoot the communicator making a noise. They have him twist some dial, opens it up, and they're establishing very visually what this is. This is a communicator. It just was really well thought out and really well done. I think. Sure, it's not the greatest episode of Star Trek there ever was, but they did good world building in it, and that's awesome. This is kind of where it started in the cage, and then Menagerie.
Yeah,
really well done. Right. And Pike, they did a good job of making Pike this noble person, because he kept saying no, 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 don't do this, and he kept saying no, and they said they kept questioning him, but with only yes and no questions, you could take forever to get figure out what the topic is he's saying no about.
I do have to say, I feel like the Jeffrey Hunter's Captain Pike and Anson Mount's Captain Pike are very similar, and I liked that. I appreciated that a lot.
The casting they did for that was very interesting, and even if Jeffrey Hunter's he's got some gray speckled through his hair, and then we see Anson Mount a couple of years later. It's totally lots of gray in his hair now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one thing where they aren't really is he's super jaded. Pike is very jaded in the cage, and he's kind of happy-go-lucky in Discovery. So I don't know what. I was really hoping they would address more of that mentality change in Pike, because he
actually. I didn't get happy-go-lucky in Discovery, but one of the things the Doctor says in the Menagerie Part 1 was you treat everyone like a human being. And I think that's what Anson Mount does. I don't think he's happy-go-lucky. He just treats everyone like they're a human being. And
the Doctor says he says you treat everyone like a human but yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's very much what we saw of Anson Mount as Captain Pike in Discovery.
But just the way he said things, especially in the first episode, hey, let's have fun, let's stir some stuff up. He seemed very just his attitude toward everything.
Just remember though that he's super observant, and especially when you're in a leadership role, you have to throw shit out there, see what sticks, and once it sticks, then you know what's real, who's who, who's what, and how to roll with that.
These nuts are sticking.
Your nuts are... God.
Well, nuts in general will stick.
We call that sack stick.
Sack stick, yeah.
I call that none of my business. That's what I call that.
It's all your business now, Holly. You're part of the show.
Business.
It's totally your business.
No,
interesting.
It's not.
Talking about our business, what's his name? Not Anson Mount. I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Jeffrey Hunt. He died. Do you know he died really young?
Yeah, he died really young. Yeah.
Yeah, 1969. He died.
Crazy.
He died really, really. He had a tragic death during a surgery of a skull fracture.
Jeez. Do you know how his skull fractured? Do you know what happened?
Says 1969. Jeffrey Hunter died during surgery of a skull fracture resulting in a fall in his home after suffering a massive cerebral hemorrhaging.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
But it did mention something about his drinking. His son said, I think alcoholism did contribute to his death.
Yeah, it's sad.
So,
but it's
message about drinking, folks. Coming from us.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I got my scotch here in hand.
Drink up responsibly.
Responsibly.
Yes.
None of us are driving anywhere. We're all home.
We're all home.
We're planted in where we should be.
But
it was kind of insensitive for us to joke. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's just, it's sad that he passed away like that. But it's just kind of crazy how it worked out for Star Trek. William Shatner became captain, that we all know and love, or some of us don't love him, but he runs the gamut of people's opinions about him, but he's still kicking. And he's been in tons of Star Trek. So, I mean, for the franchise, it worked out that the pilot failed. They didn't have to recast Pike for at least the original series, So it really worked out well in terms of the show.
Sure, absolutely.
I think he was recast between Anson and Jeffrey.
Yeah, the guy who's in the wheelchair is not actually Jeffrey Combs.
Mm.
Jeffrey Combs.
Hunter.
Wayune and Brunt. Woo, I'm going into. I've had a lot of scotch so far.
Scotch.
Sorry, it's a lot of scotch. A lot of scotch talking right now. Yeah, it wasn't him. It was somebody else. I'm trying to find the name.
I'm glad because I just kept looking at that guy and I'm like, that's not the same act. It's not the same actor. And it was driving me crazy. So thank you for letting me know that I'm not crazy. They basically just went and found a guy with bright ice blue eyes and said, you're sitting in this chair. And I was like, it's not you.
You're sitting in this chair. Your job is to look like...
Your job is to sit here with your mouth open.
And look miserable.
You can nod off so we can say this is a two-parter.
Sean Kenny. Actually, let's see.
Oh my God, they killed Kenny.
Oh my God.
They killed Kenny.
Don't stop. I'm dying here. Yeah, Sean Kenny did Christopher Pike, and he also did Lieutenant DePaul.
DePaul, like D, or T'Pol, like T? Because
he played the cross-dresser.
A woman?
Oh, he was. He wasn't. He played in The Arena with the Gorn and Taste of Armageddon. Those are the two he was in. So he played a couple roles. And I gotta say, when you see a picture of him outside of the Pike makeup, he looks quite strange.
What did you say his name was?
He looks exactly the same.
Sean David Kenny.
Yeah, I just clicked on his Wikipedia photo. Yeah, completely different guy.
Not the same guy.
No.
Just, I guess we could throw anybody in a wheelchair and say, that's your dad.
As long as the eyes, I mean, to be fair, the only thing that they could convey was the color of the eye, and the color was the only convincing part.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Who is your daddy and what does he do? My daddy works with pinheads.
No. Oh my God. Oh.
My name is John Kimball.
Who is your daddy and who does he do?
Oh man.
My daddy's a gynecologist and he looks at vagina all day long.
He's swimming in the puss.
Well, let's wrap this up, guys, because this is getting just silly now.
Swimming in puss is what doesn't.
So I say vagina, and it's like, okay, let's end the show.
Where's the Virginia? Vagina. You say Virginia, I say Virginia.
Oh, all in all, it was a good episode.
How do you? I mean, honestly, now that with Discovery season 2, with Anson Mount, does this give more weight to it?
It is a nice little, you know how it ends for Anson Mount's version, so that's nice.
I love how they said it was an old J-class ship, even though it was a Crossfield class, brand new, spanking.
Spanking new for us.
Well, I mean, for the timeline. I mean, they said it was an old Class J, and the Crossfield's newer than the Enterprise.
True.
And they don't call the Enterprise old.
You're old.
It's actually the Enterprise is actually pretty old. By the time even Kirk gets to it, it's kind of old. It's like a couple
15,
of years.
Yeah, but they never
like
call
15
it
years old ship. Yeah.
I don't know. It was nice. It was cool. I did like little things. Like I loved how they made Spock. Well, they didn't make him look younger in the flashbacks. but how he did look. His hair was combed differently. He genuinely did look like a younger version of himself. Of what it was like 7 years prior or something.
Yeah, it was a couple years back.
I think they said 13 years prior.
Oh.
What's even interesting about that, Holly, is that when they originally shot a lot of the scenes, they were painting Spock actually green, and the people who would color the scenes were like, why is he green? And they would color him back to normal color, like
no, Vina. That was Vina. Michelle Barrett was testing the Orion's slave girl makeup.
Oh, is that what it was? What is it? And they just were like, why is he?
Originally, they wanted Spock to be red, but they didn't color change Spock ever. Thank goodness.
Oh God, that would have been terrible.
They wanted him to. They described him as a devil, so they wanted him to be red originally.
That's hilarious.
That's fucking weird, and it's a good thing they didn't do that, because especially in the times,
I'm going to be Satan.
Star Trek got away with a lot of shit. They would have not have gotten away with a personified devil.
I'm a logical devil.
Am I wrong?
No, it would probably rub people.
It would have been awful if he looked like a
terrible.
red devil.
Like David, your father would not have allowed Star Trek after that. Like, no fucking way.
Yeah, I'm a logical devil.
Very logical.
Very logical. You could get laid with one person, or you can lay with 3 people. It's logical to get the 3.
Hey, it's logical. You could do it.
It's only logical.
Well, I killed everyone. It was just logical. Get off my back.
Yeah, very
I
logical.
could lie to you all the days, because I'm the devil. Vulcans definitely lie. We you don't know when we tell the truth.
You don't know.
Because we're the devil. All of us.
Well,
that's closer to how they really are, because they're all budget assholes. Vulcans.
I mean, that's kind of true.
Yeah, Vulcans have, besides Spock, a lot of them have become assholes.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, should we wrap this up?
Stick a knife in it.
Yeah, say we're done.
Stake it in the heart.
My glass is nearly empty, so I think we're done.
My glass is empty, and my ice is melted.
Aw. All right.
Did you drink the ice? Because you do need to hydrate if you're going to be drinking.
I am. I'm well hydrated.
Okay.
My bladder is telling me so.
But we are responsible alcoholics.
My bladder tells me so. Got my pee bucket under the desk. It's fine.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's right.
Well, you can find the show online at pbucket.com.
I bet there is a pbucket.com. Don't look it up.
Don't look it up, because I don't know what's on it.
Stop it.
Yeah, also don't look up meatspin.com. You can find the show online. Oh, actually, let's start with our music. Our music is provided by Warp 11. You can find them online at warp11.com or Warp 11 on Twitter. Dave Wilkes provides our intro. The show you can find online at Scentaholics.com. You can email us at Scentaholics@yahoo.com. You can join the Facebook conversation at facebook.com/group/Scentaholics. I'm slurring my words.
It's okay. We love you anyway.
I'm fine.
Are you the only one not drinking?
I'm the one not drinking, and I'm slurring my words.
Holly, I've been drinking.
I've gotten very little sleep this week.
Unacceptable.
That's your excuse.
Inconceivable.
Sorry, Daffy Duck.
Hey, but after that, you can go to Twitter, right, Dave?
Yeah, you can check out our Twitter. You can. We're on it. Oh, yes. I'm at David_J_Duncan. The show's at Scentaholic Duo. Aaron's at Blackbird 2004, and Holly's at Luna Thistle.
Yes, and please go to Apple iTunes, rate and review us there. Please leave us 5 stars. Say something nice, because we are so fucking drunk. And then, as well...
I'm drunk by proxy.
And then go to our Patreon. Say, hey, these people need more booze money. So throw them some booze money. Go to Patreon. That would be great. And then lastly, if you can't do any of those things, please share the episode. Social media is a great way. Facebook, Twitter, any of the ways you want to do. Reddit would be great. All those things are nice. Just let people know. Or just tell somebody.
even if you hate us, one of your friends is gonna like us.
Somebody will like us. Somebody somewhere.
If someone hates us, how have they gotten this far through the episode?
Somewhere, somehow.
I want to talk to
like
you
us.
if you hated us and you got to this point.
Do you hate listen? We want to know.
At Lunar Thistle, let me know.
I don't know. My ego is too frail. I don't know if I could take it. Anyways.
All right. Well, thanks, Holly and Aaron. This was fun.
Yes, it was.
I think that's what's been missing. We haven't been drinking enough on the show. That's what makes it. That's what makes the wheels turn.
We also had like an hour of pre-discussion and possibly pre-drinking. So.
Yeah, pre-drinking of
pre-gaming. That's what I used to do. I miss the. I gotta get down to weight before I can start drinking a bunch again.
Just do it anyways.
No,
right?
I'm trying to be good. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Aaron and Holly. It's been a pleasure. It's been a blast. We've had lots of laughs that I probably won't edit out.
Oh God!
And thank you,
hope not.
And all the listeners. Thank you for listening. Live long and prosper, one and all.
Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sink and we'll cry till we laugh. And we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
I was gonna say something and I don't remember what it was, but I wanted to
vaginas.
I did not want to say that, but it popped into my head like 5 times, and I was like, "Oh, it's not time to say that," and I just don't remember what it was.
Space butthole.
Yeah, it wasn't that either.
That's hilarious.
Oh man, I wish I could.
Wait! I know. These nuts.
Not these nuts. No.
Definitely not that.
Even waiting for the perfect time to strike.
No, I really can't even remember. I can't even remember now.
Give us like a.
It'll come like 3.
As soon as you hang up the Skype call.
3 in the morning, you'll be like, "Whoa, I remember now."
Mm-hmm.
I have a dream.
So, not to kill everything, but what are we talking about next week?
Oh.
Space vaginas.
Not.
Space
Holly,
ice pirates.
You're the resident vagina owner. You'll have to get us educated on that.
I have to teach you about the vagina.
The space vagina. It's a completely.
I have no.
Extrapolate.
I can't teach you about space vagina.
What about ice pirates? Is funny.
Ice pirates?
What's ice pirates?
I would watch that.
But literally,
Is
like,
it
I think. What?
Is it streamable?
Yeah, the last time I watched it, I actually rented it on YouTube.
Ice pirates, okay.
Yeah, Ice Pirates. It's
You
great.
will love it, Dave. It's totally up your alley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Oh,
You okay?
you just introduce me. I'm gonna run and get a chapstick. Be right back.
She's got her lips are chapped. Stupid doggy so fucking much.
Vag lipstick. Woo!
A couple days, and it's just it gets like really warm, and then it's just this rain comes down like crazy. So,
Yeah, it's been kind of miserable.
Yeah,
Miserable day
it's a miserable day
in the neighborhood. That's what Mr. Rogers said.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is that I feel like both California and New York have had similar weather. It's just different climates. Like, granted, we didn't get snow and crap, but this whole winter when you guys were like getting dumped on with snow, we had a ton of rain.
Yeah, it's probably good actually for California.
Oh yeah, it's like the first time in like 7 years they haven't been in a drought.
We had lots of fire raining down on us. It was great.
Nope, that's coming up.
Rain of Fire, the movie.
And then
The
Locust.
reality.
I do love that movie.
A Plague of Locusts.